African American history, the African American history experience at the 21st century as far as the African American History Month is concerned. Let's start with that. And I think, as you know, it did not start as African American History Month, but so let's do it from that perspective after we talk about your background, education, and your experience.
Absolutely, and thank you so much again for having me here. I'm Dr. EKSanford4, and as you said, I'm a professor of sociology at Tennessee State University. I started in reverse. I did a postdoc education at Penn State University and State College, Pennsylvania, in gerontology and evaluation research. Did my doctorate degree, very proud of, at Howard University in Washington, D.C. And there I also worked with the national headquarters of the American Red Cross, doing HIV/AIDS education research and evaluation unit there. Kind of interesting because right here in Nashville with Dr. Ed Sullivan, there's a first response center, and I work with Dr. Jackie Fleming on that project here, and that stemmed from that earlier work in Washington, D.C. Also worked with the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives in Washington, D.C. That was an excellent experience. Did my undergraduate work at North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina. As also, I was at the Institute for Social Research at the University of Michigan, and that was a wonderful educational experience. But as I look back on that time at Howard University, with Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday becoming a holiday, I was at all of the protests from the time Stevie Wonder started it to the time that it finally went into fruition with that President Reagan of all people to make it come to be a birthday for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
And so, excuse me, in a real sense, that was really an addition to the African American historical experience, as well as African American History Month or African American History Week. Let's look at some of the things that, when you think about the African American history experience or the concept of African American History Month, let's say something about that during the last couple of minutes that we have.
Okay, and very good. We have to give credit to Dr. Carter G. Woodson. He was a noted scholar who was the second African American to graduate from Harvard University, received his first 2 degrees from the University of Chicago, but was born in Virginia, whose father was a slave. So he had the foresight and insight to know that there was a need to talk about and to put into record, into concrete within the system of America, that are the contributions that African Americans had made from slavery to freedom to the present. So Dr. Carter G. Woodson was the founder of what was called then African American History Week. And he put it on the time that he said it should be the second week in February because it was a unique birthday time of Frederick Douglass as well as Abraham Lincoln. So he thought that that would be a good time to celebrate it, since Abraham Lincoln, of course, supposed with the Emancipation Proclamation and Civil War 1861-1865, ended slavery and brought about those constitutions to abolish it. And Frederick Douglass, of course, was in the forefront of helping that decision to be made. So he found that that was a wonderful time to try to celebrate it. And as I recall coming up as a youth in school, it seemed like it was a day, although he had African American, what they called at that time Black History Month. It seemed like it was a one-day thing. And then it grew from one day to a week, and then from a week to African American History Month as we celebrate it today.
Very good. You know, looking back over that experience, that is the establishment of, how did people react to that? African Americans especially. Yeah,
well, I think it was a time of celebration, a time of wanting to have that pride, but I think the problem was, and as Dr. Carter G. Woodson wrote in his book entitled The Miseducation of the Negro, he felt that not only did African Americans did not know about the history and contributions, that also the majority group didn't either. So he felt, I think, as a primary thesis of the book, The Miseducation of the Negro, that it would bring a certain sense of pride to that group to know about the history, to know the contributions that they made to the American culture, and that from that point on, when that African American History Week was founded, that it would grow and grow and grow, and that people would have a certain sense of pride. But I think ultimately he had wanted to become a part of the institution of education, from elementary school to junior high to high school, that people would learn about it, and then would be celebratory for all different ethnic groups throughout the United States.
Very good. Let's stop here, and we're going to have our first commercial break, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.